Oh, welcome back. I love talking about all the reasons people live in Seattle. And, of course, my favorite one would have to be because the Seahawks play here. Anyways, it's my football.
That's yours. That's your favorite.
I always got to figure out a way to wrap them into this whole thing. Rebecca Carlson joins us, realtor with Coldwell Banker Bain, a member of the President's Circle there. How you doing, Rebecca?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
It's nice to see you and meet you and have you in. Because you have an issue, you have ways to resolve an issue that a lot of people are having right now, and that's really buyers dealing with not just finding the property, but getting the property that they like.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to be a buyer today than I think a lot of people realize.
So what are some of the buyers dealing with, and what are some of the biggest issues they're finding?
Well, if I could just maybe give a few statistics real quickly. It's inventory. Inventory is almost at record lows. In fact, compared last year, for example, downtown condos, the inventory is down 51% this month compared to the same month last year. Areas like Capitol Hill, Madison Park, that inventory is down 36%. So for some reason, sellers just aren't selling. And so what's happening, we have a lot of buyers looking because of low interest rates, and there's just very few properties out there to compete against. And so we're seeing a lot of multiple offers on those desirable properties.
Like the ones on Lake Washington that Brian was talking about. Yeah. So I guess it's not necessarily an element of people wanting to pay more. It's really the element of there's just not enough houses to buy.
Right. It's the demand issue. There's undersupply and over demand, and it just means that buyers really want to take advantage of the low interest rates, so they really want to buy, but they're just, you see that cute bungalow in Green Lake or a house in West Seattle, and if you think it's cute, odds are everybody else thinks it's cute too.
Especially if you're looking for a cute house.
Yeah, exactly.
I live in Green Lake, and there are very few for sale signs that last very long.
Green Lake is crazy. Yeah, that area is 36% down in inventory. So
from a year ago?
From a year ago. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why sellers aren't out there getting their houses sold, because it's a great time to be a seller. But, buyers are out there looking, and they really, really want to buy. So, I really think the buyers need to be prepared to face a market where they have to be a little bit more agile.
Financially.
Both financially, but, they have to be willing to, everybody wants a deal. And the fact of the matter is deals are not out there. You really have to be willing to put the money on the table for a house you really love. But there's things like pre-inspections and getting in the day it gets on the market, and making sure you have a realtor that will get you in on time and not waiting for an open house. You just can't sit there and expect a house to be on the market for 30 days anymore.
Well, I mean, I've seen some of the good ones. We've heard stories about people who go and there's an offer. You have an hour to make an offer if you would like to get this house, or it's in and out.
Yeah, I just literally put a listing in West Seattle in a neighborhood called Fontley Hills on Friday at about 2 o'clock. The buyer came in at 6 o'clock, and I had an offer at 9 a.m. the next day. And people came through the open house and were surprised, and this is a price point of $825, that it had already gone so quickly. So, you just, at all price points, a really desirable house is going to go. So, for those buyers who do not have agents, they really need to reconsider that, because if they wait for an open house, they're not going to get that house.
Do you feel that there are people still trying to do it themselves to try to save a few bucks and not?
Yeah. And I don't know why buyers don't partner with realtors. It costs them no money. This is the best thing about being a buyer, is it doesn't cost you a dime to partner with a real estate agent. We do it for free.
Well, we all know that you're not doing it for free, Rebecca.
No, we're not.
But, it's true, because there's no cost. And if you don't even find the house, you kind of do get a free ride until you find something.
Yeah. We don't get paid until the house closes. And so, but, we are giving them our expertise. And again, in a multi-offer situation, you cannot be a buyer on your own in that. You will not get that house, because you need to understand how to do a pre-inspection, how to set up your financing in a way that makes you competitive.
Do you see that a lot of listings are getting attention, or some getting more attention, some less, from the amount of buyers that are out there? I mean, you say a house sold in a few hours.
Yeah.
So certainly this must have been one that was getting more than others.
Yeah, and it is still a little difficult for us agents to know sometimes exactly which house is going to be the hot property. there are plenty of great houses that have been on the market and sitting there for 30, 45 days. So, maybe they're overpriced, or maybe the location isn't quite as desirable, or maybe it's condition. But, there certainly are some properties that just, they have it all at any price point. And I'd say that under 400,000 is certainly the hottest price point, because that's where the most of the first-time home buyers and a bigger percentage of people can afford.
Yeah, we see the same thing. And the other issue, there's not a lot of houses in the core of Seattle, Bellevue that are under $400,000.
Yeah, certain areas. West Seattle, Columbia City has a few, and up the north end of Ballard, you see that. But they're going to be small. You have to have expectations that you're looking at that 2-bedroom, 1-bath bungalow type of house. But sounds
like a guest house. at least to the folks that Brian's talking about on Lake Washington.
Yeah, well, everybody has to start somewhere, and that's true. A good starting point. But even in the $600,000 to $800,000 range, which is what we typically consider the move-up buyer, where they have a little house, they want to buy a bigger house, that price range, the inventory is non-existent. It's frustrating to be a buyer in that price range right now.
Rebecca, so if it's frustrating to be a buyer and you come from an area of expertise, what are some of your recommendations on making a competitive offer?
Well, obviously you have to have a pre-approval. I mean, and a lot of buyers go and look at open houses, and they just, they haven't quite done it yet. You can't not have the pre-approval letter. So you have to have, that's first and foremost. And then secondarily, you need to be prepared to do a pre-inspection. You have to be really flexible in your schedule and be willing to see a house any time of the day if you're really that motivated. But a pre-inspection, is a risk, because you are paying for an inspection not knowing if you're going to get that house. So there is that risk involved. But basically what that allows you to do is to make an offer waiving your inspection. So you do it, feel good about the house, and then your offer is not contingent upon an inspection.
And that allows the seller to feel what?
Well, that basically says, great, I don't have to worry about this buyer coming back to me after the inspection and nickel-diming me on all the little issues with this old house.
The fact that the basement is flooded, I mean, they won't care, right?
Well, things like lead pipe, or, especially with older houses, which I sell a lot of in Seattle, you have to expect some things. But when you have a buyer waiving that inspection, they basically are jumping right into that financing process. So that's good.
And that allows, I guess, for a slightly faster process, the seller feels like they're a little bit more committed from the first minute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the inspection is a very stressful process for a seller because there's so many unknowns. So it's a huge relief for them to be able to accept an offer and not have to worry about that part of the process. But they still have the appraisal they have to get through, and all the financing and stuff. But, yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's difficult, but if you know kind of the how to get through down the path effectively, you can do it.
Well, and you have to be patient. I have quite a few clients that have made 3, 4, or 5 offers in this market, and I found a couple of them are actually starting to hesitate and sort of like not wanting to jump back in. And I believe it's worth it with interest rates so low. It's worth putting up the effort to find that right house, and the right house always comes along. And in fact, typically, it's the best house for you. Things always happen for a reason, I believe, but it's worth sticking with it and continuing to go through the process and realizing that, this is a little bit more challenging time to be a buyer, but ultimately you'll find a great house. You just can't get too disappointed.
Is that how you kind of deal with their frustrations? Keep the bigger picture in mind.
Yeah. And, one of my clients who just got a house recently, we've looked at dozens, if not nearly 100 houses. And the one that they finally won after 5 offers actually was the very best house for them. And they were really happy and relieved that none of the other houses worked out because this happened to be the best house. So there's always something out there for you. You just have to be persistent and know that it'll happen.
Well, certainly the persistence, it sounds like a good coach, coaching somebody through the fourth quarter of a game.
Yeah. It's you definitely need to put your rally hat on.
You put your 4 fingers up, fourth quarter.
That's right.
Well, Rebecca, any other big recommendations as far as helping them maybe get that house?
Besides the pre-inspection and the just being ready to offer more, perhaps. Unfortunately, in some cases, houses have gone for $100,000 above ask price, and there's probably going to be somebody who has more money than you, and so you just have to trust that you're going to give it your all, no matter what that is, and if it works, it's meant to be. But I think buyers have to shift their mind thinking a little bit and realize that, a great house, you're not going to get it for such a good deal anymore. You have to be willing to pay top dollar. Although today's top dollar is still less than it was 5-6 years ago. So
everybody still wishes they were buying back in November, don't they?
Yeah. Last year was quite different than this year, that's for sure.
Well, Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, and keep helping people.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, keep helping people make those tough decisions
We
and navigate those waters. Rebecca Carlson with Coldwell Banker Bain and member of their President's Circle. When we come back, hey, you may want to buy a house. Maybe you want to buy some investment property, and you're kind of trying to figure out how you want to do that. Well, with real estate prices on the rise, Dave Smith's going to join us from Paragon Real Estate Advisors to help you understand a little bit more about different ways you can invest in real estate. We'll be right back after this break. You're listening to Brashenomics.